What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you as always. Today, we're going to talk about, well, for those of you that have never been here, I served 17 years straight in the New York prison system. And today, we're going to talk about why I believe, I know I'm going to get some flack for this, but you have to hear me out before you immediately judge. Why I believe females should not work inside of the New York prison system. At least they should not work inside of the prison system with males in a male institution, in a male prison. I believe that females do not belong there. And I understand you females getting emotional when you hear me say that. Maybe you get upset and say you have a right to be there, just like a male correctional officer has a right to work inside of the prison. I'm not talking about what your right is. I'm talking about what is right or wrong. Not talking about your legal rights. I understand your legal rights to work in any establishment that a male works in. But I'm saying whether it is safe for females to work in there. I'm explaining whether it's proper for females to work inside of a male prison. And I can go through, and I will go through many incidents that have taken place, the problems that get caused, right? So the first thing we're going to jump into is the fact that females, the average female, there is always exceptions to the rule, so don't try to attack me. The average female is not strong enough, does not have the physical conditioning to deal with grown male criminals. Okay. Now, are there some where it's an exception to the rule? Of course, there are some, right? We can go on YouTube and watch videos of females powerlifting, of females who are trained in martial arts and know how to fight. As I said, we're talking about exceptions to the rules. And even if there is a female trained in martial arts that knows how to fight, that a female that could bench press 250 pounds, right? That doesn't mean she could take a full grown punch from a full grown man to the face, right? And these are things that they'll be exposed to inside of a male institution. And these situations arise. And when a female officer shows up at a violent scene inside of the prison and she can't handle that scene, right? When she's the first to arrive and she can't handle it, this creates a more dangerous situation. So that is my point number one, is that females do not have the physical capability to deal with two grown men fighting, to get in between them, to separate them. You know, you tell me what the average female is going to do when two prisoners are stabbing each other, or two prisoners are armed with a knife and they're fighting, and she shows up on scene. She's going to get in the middle of that. She's going to handle that, right? And so it endangers the other prisoners around because she's not able to stop the situation and she has to wait for more help to arrive, right? Where a male officer usually will get right there in the mix with his nightstick and do what he has to do, right? Again, I'm not putting females down. I'm saying that I think that they should be more protected, right? And we should not take our females and put them in the situation where they're going to get hurt and where other people can get hurt. What I've noticed also is that female correctional officers tend to lie uh, more than correctional officers, male correctional officers. And what I mean by that is if a female correctional officer feels a little uncomfortable around a male prisoner, she will lie to her colleagues and say, oh, he made me feel uncomfortable because he did this or because he did that, when it's not really the truth. And the truth is, she just wants to have that male prisoner removed from the area or removed from her housing area because she feels uncomfortable, and that's not proper to do. At least tell the truth and say, okay, I feel uncomfortable with this person around. Usually they make up a story I've seen it myself many times and say, oh, he did this or he did that just to get him taken out, And so that tends to happen a lot more when you have a female there. Um, Female correctional officers tend to um, be more abusive towards the male prisoners. And they do that because they feel that they have to. You follow what I'm saying? They feel like they have to let the prisoner know that they're tough. They have to let the prisoner know that they're in charge. They have to let the prisoner know that they're not going to be pushed around. And so, because of that, they tend to be a little more, not all of them. I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying what I personally witnessed during 17 years of incarceration. So you could disagree with me if you want. You have a right to disagree. But have you lived in the prison system and been exposed to the circumstances that I'm elaborating on right now? If you have, if you have been exposed to the situation I'm elaborating on, then you would probably agree with me and understand what I'm explaining. If you haven't, then your opinion is really invalid because I'm telling you what takes place in there. Okay, and the female correctional officers tend to be more abusive towards the male prisoners, right? And that creates situations, that creates circumstances that could have been avoided if they weren't in the institution, right? You follow what I'm saying? You'll get a lot of male officers that want to show off because there's female correctional officers there. If you have one female correctional officer for every 100 male correctional officers, right? The males want to show off in front of this female. And the way that they show off is by abusing the prisoners. I'll show this woman that I'm tough. I'm going to show this woman that I'm the man, and then the prisoner's walking by. Hey, you get on the wall, put your hands on the wall. What do you got on you? What's going, right? He's trying to show the woman like he's a tough guy, right? And this is what happens when you put a woman in a situation surrounded by men. And, you have this same incident that takes place inside the military, right? And again, I love women, not putting women down. I'm saying that I don't believe they belong in this situation of a male prison, right? You have a tremendous amount of male prisoners who are in there for crimes against women, a tremendous amount, that they have a massive amount of animosity against women. You have the ones that are in jail for spousal abuse, for beating their girlfriend, for beating their wife. Never mind the number of rapists that you have in there, people that sexually assaulted women, that fantasize about doing evil things to women, right? And you have those in there. I'll give you an example of, it goes back a little bit. There's many examples, but her name was Green, Donna Pyatt from Greenhaven. Donna Pyatt from Greenhaven was a female correctional officer, and she was killed, and she was wrapped up by a prisoner and thrown in the dumpster in Greenhaven prison. And they couldn't find her at first. They locked the prison down. They were searching for her. They ended up finding her in the dumpster by a guy who had killed 2 or 3 women already. And then he took this female correctional officer, killed her, and threw her in the dumpster. So he was already serving life, and they just put another life sentence on top of it. You know, so those situations happen. Then you have the constant situations of the female correctional officers having sex with the prisoners. They're constantly being arrested for this. They're constantly being persuaded by the male prisoners to bring in drugs, to bring in weapons, to bring in food, to bring in alcohol, to bring in cell phones, because the male prisoners are using their charisma and using their charm on these females and getting inside of their panties and getting all this contraband. So it causes those type of problems. This is why I just don't believe that they belong working in the prison system. They're constant. What I've witnessed personally is I know female correctional officers that didn't like a certain prisoner. And so they would say, when I was walking past the cell, he took out his private parts. When I was walking past the cell, he was masturbating. And then the male officers, they all want to be heroes. They come and beat up the prisoner because they actually think he did that. There's some that do that because they're perverts. You got prisoners that are perverts, and they see the female correctional officer and they want to masturbate in front of her, right? When she's walking around doing her rounds. But then the female officers learned that some of the prisoners do this, and then they would use that excuse if they wanted to get a male prisoner out of there. So it's just not a place for our women. It's not a place for the female species inside of a male prison. It's a dangerous place. It's a violent place. It's a vicious place. It's a scary place. And it's no place to stick our women. And as I said in the beginning of the video, a woman will say, well, I have a right to be there. I understand you have a right to be there. I'm talking about the fact that it causes a lot of drama. It causes a lot of problems. It causes a lot of issues. And a lot of those drama, a lot of that drama, a lot of those problems, and a lot of those issues cannot be handled by a female inside of the prison system. So I hope you don't beat me up too much for saying this. I'm just speaking truth. I'm speaking about reality. You know, um, I don't think it's a place for our ladies. You know, but they're going to work in there, and it's a very unsafe environment. And that's all I really have to say on that one. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.